Is it time to move on from your 7-year job? Sorry if it's the wrong type of question. There's no such thing as the wrong type of question, but I don't do readings. Like only you can decide that. So let's do some self check-ins, right? Are you happy? Because I'm asking. Because I'm guessing if you're asking, maybe you're not. And if you're not, if that's not where your desire is, then it's probably time to do something else. And then it's about figuring out like what feeling do you want to have when you get like when you work a job, or is there a skill that you can make money from? Is there a, for me, just I always, full disclosure, tell everyone like, yes, I'm a conscious manifestation coach, but I'm not going to lie and say that that's all I do. I currently have a part-time job. I have a like that for me is how I don't put the pressure on my business, and I don't take action or not take action out of fear that would jeopardize my business. And so, a lot of people don't even think about that. They either think if oh, sorry, I'm going on a bit of a tangent, but I'll come back around to it. They think that if they want to do their own business, they either have to work a full time job and work full time on their business, some fucking how, or they have to jump, like, especially when it comes to conscious manifestation, they have to jump all into their business and just like risk it for the biscuit. And it's like, no, because then you're going to start doing things out of fear that are going to backfire. So if you're at a point where like you've been at a job for 7 years, it doesn't make you happy anymore, or maybe it never did, what do you want in terms of when you wake up in the morning and you know you have to go to work? What do you want from that? It's a roller coaster ride up and down. That's usually not a good thing. Same with relationships. Like people think that like the thrill of a relationship that's kind of up and down means passion and all those things that people want to think is positive, but really that's just your nervous system getting a bit fucked up. It's not healthy. A happy relationship is really more a level relationship, and when you get used to having a healthy nervous system and a better mindset, you actually really appreciate. Like, and that's not to say you can't be spontaneous and you can't have like get gifts and be surprised and all those things. I'm talking more like the toxic up and down of like we fight and then we make up and all that shit. So when it comes to a job, yeah, I mean, again, I know it's hard because there's not a lot of characters you can give in a comment, but it doesn't sound like that's favorable. So, I can't tell you if it's time. Only you can decide, and and it's about also knowing what you want instead of if you decide to hand in your resignation. Um, and is it the type of work? Is it just the people? Is it the place? Is it the size of the office? So to give you guys an idea while I'm waiting for questions to come in, um, for a long time I was, in my mind, I had it in my mind that I had to climb the corporate ladder. Like that's how I would be successful. I saw my parents work full time all through my childhood. Um, I had to be very independent, and I decided like being a career woman was the way, and that's how I would make good money and all this sort of thing. And like there's nothing wrong with that again if you enjoy it, right? I didn't. I got burnt out. What I found in corporate was your above and beyond becomes the new bare minimum, and then you're expected to continue going above and beyond, and then you just end up running on fucking fumes, right? And I actually had wanted to have my own business for a long time, but I had no idea how to go about it. I didn't think that people like where I grew up or anything did that. Like it didn't seem like it was my story. It seemed like it was the story for other people, right? Which is how law of assumption really helps people out, because you start to change that limiting belief, that limiting story. And I actually came across and obviously manifested, because we know how law of assumption works. I think it was news.com.au was like the homepage on the browser at my job. And when I opened up my computer, the an article came up on news.com.au, and there was a woman on there who had climbed the corporate ladder, gotten burnt out, was making like a lot of great money, but sorry, my hair's like, you know, when you freshly clean your hair and you just can't be happy with it. Um, Made lots of money, like, I don't know, six figures or something ridiculous. This was years and years ago now. And she decided that she just, like, she wasn't happy. Like, and I kind of realized the reason why I wanted to make more and more money working for someone else was because I wanted to feel compensated for getting the life sucked out of me. It's just how it felt working where I was, particularly in recruitment, and anyone who's worked in a sales environment might be able to relate to that feeling. I was not a recruiter. I was the office manager for over half the time I worked there for almost 5.5 years. And so she ended up selling all her shit, like quitting her job, selling all her shit, moving to a tropical island and working in an ice cream shop for like part time just to pay for her necessities, and then spent her days on this beautiful tropical island as she pleased. And I was like, wow, there's no shame in working part time in an ice cream shop if that's your life. Like I would prefer that to what I'm doing now, kind of thing. And so that was kind of the thing I remember opening my mind up to, like, oh, okay, so like just because I've worked in corporate doesn't mean that's what I have to do and all that sort of thing. And so now I work part time for someone else currently. I did manifest this job. I don't think I've done a YouTube video on that yet, but I will. How I manifested it, because I had started another business. It really wasn't what I wanted to do. It's what I thought would work. And so it didn't, because my motivation was from fear and all that shit. And so my savings kind of ran out because I'd gotten burnt out, took some time off working, did my other business, and then was like, okay, I need to go back to working for someone else, but I'm not giving up on like having my own business. And I was like, but if I have to go back to working for someone else, I'm going to be happy there. Otherwise, I'm not going to fucking do it. And yeah, I manifested the part-time job that I have now, which, like, I can't even express how different it is. It's in recruitment, but it's not a large recruitment agency. I'll have to do a YouTube video on it. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube, definitely do, because I'll go into detail on that. But like, for example, I had a review a few weeks ago and my boss wanted to know how he could make me happy because he was worried that I would want to leave. And I've been very honest with him. Like, I was blunt when he headhunted me for the job. I was blunt because I was like, I'm not fucking settling for anything I don't want, or something that isn't what I want. So he knows I have a business. He knows eventually I'm going to leave to do my business as my sole thing. But he's worried that I'm going to be bored. He's worried that I'm not happy, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I have created a life where, yes, even though I have to work, well, I don't have to, but even though I'm working for someone else part-time currently, that's given me the time and energy and space in my life to, I'll come back to your question. Sorry, I do this rambling. To have the time and energy outside of work to do things I love and to build a business that will be all mine, where I don't have to work for anyone else again. And so I'm okay with my like part-time job being a little mundane here and there and stuff. And I like the people, and they're people who have been in the toxic corporate environment before and they don't want that anymore. So it's like really quite perfect. So I hope that helps with like your question and how, like, what steps you decide to take after that, what you want to do instead if you decide to resign from that, and kind of give you some ideas of how to go about it. If you do have like a skill that you think that you could make money off, that you would enjoy talking about all the time, like I enjoy talking about conscious manifestation. Can you manifest clarity to make the right decision? Yeah, you can manifest anything. So and essentially, like, every thought's an affirmation. That doesn't mean every thought manifests, but like it's more the ones that you linger on, right? So you can be asking yourself all the time, like, what do I want to do? Or you could just be like, why is it so awesome that, again, I don't know. I've sort of presented a few options to you, like, do you want to have your own business? Do you want to continue doing what you're doing just somewhere else? Is it the people? Like, if you like what you're doing, but it's just the people, like, do you want to manifest the people? So you can use like things like ask formations or affirmations, they're the same thing, where you present a question to your mind and your mind looks for the answer. And you can do this in the sense of like stating something, but in a question form, like, why am I so wealthy? Why do I get to do something I love every day and make money from it? Like that, or why is it that every person I work with is so fucking awesome? Like, I love that I don't work with toxic people anymore, or whatever your situation is that you want to change in your next move career wise. Is there a date for the self concept workbook? Oh, no. I know it's been fucking ages. Honestly, it's me. I keep getting the inspired action to do it, and I'm putting pressure on myself. Sorry, there's a plane going over. I am putting a lot of pressure on myself. I have the outline of it. I feel ready to start recording it. I kept sort of thinking like, oh, want it to look more professional and blah blah blah. I'm probably just gonna have to do it on my laptop, like record it on my laptop and be okay with the fact that it's the content that matters. You know, like I want it to look a certain way. It's turned into a course because there's just so many things that in terms of my journey, like how my journey's evolved and what I know will be the most helpful for you guys. Like, you know, there's certain things that I did and that I talked about a lot in the earlier parts of my journey. And really for the first like couple of years, and then I found like I hit a wall, and I definitely am glad that I took as long as I did, because the course will now include these things that'll help you help prevent you getting to that place where you hit a wall. Also, I need to sort of just get over the fact that it's not going to be 100% perfect initially, but the good thing is anyone who purchases it will get free upgrades whenever I add things to it and stuff like that. So that has made me feel a bit better about releasing something that's not like 100% perfect. So I'll get onto it. No date for release as yet. I definitely want to get it out before the end of this year. So, and I am feeling definitely more motivated to do it. So I'm glad that you're in a place where you're ready to do that work and not avoid it, because I know most of us go through the phase where we're like, I don't want to focus on me. I want this thing that I want, and I want to focus on that. And it's like, eventually you get to the point where you realize you have to do it. Sunny there, finally. Nice. Although I feel like every person from the UK that I meet over here, like, thinks 30 degrees is like sweltering. Is that a word? Sweltering? Like ridiculously hot. I'm like, mate, we get like several days in a row of 40 something degrees in summer. And that's in Melbourne. That's not even the hottest part of Australia. And the nights don't go below like 30 something degrees sometimes. But I get it. It's acclimatization. I'll give you that. But yeah, how good's the sun? Like whenever the sun's out here, even if it's cold, if the sun's out, I'm happy. Sounds awesome. Yeah, good to hear. It'll include so much more than like, and this is the thing. I think a lot of people come to law of assumption and they hear me talking about things other than mindset, and I will admit that the mindset part being the seed of manifestation was very comforting and very much a relief for me when I had been trying to understand conscious manifestation from the law of attraction manual of conscious manifestation, where it talks a lot about being in the feeling of and being high vibe all the time and all that sort of thing. It was very much a relief for me to hear that it's the thoughts, but the feelings still serve a purpose. I feel like I resonated with the law of assumption because I'm an analytical person and with a tendency to overthink, and I think a lot of people who finally find that conscious manifestation clicks for them when they come across law of assumption are probably similar in that sense. But again, there's that wall that you hit after a certain point, and that's where you kind of can't ignore the parts about the feelings and all that shit. But I explain it to you really clearly and concisely and give you practical ways to implement things. I don't just say get in the feeling or vibrational state or frequency of, like the law of attraction. You can't just switch that on. There's ways. So I'm glad you're excited. You checked your boyfriend's phone and he asked a girl out. You can't let him know you know. Please help. So any action or inaction. So any action taken out of fear backfires, right? If you're looking for something out of fear that you're going to find it, you will find it. So the thing that most people don't want to know is like, you've created this somehow because you're acting from fear. So I'm just reading your follow-up parts of that before I continue. He was rude to her though. He said, let me know if you're free, but I can't guarantee I'll be seeing you. So what are you wanting to manifest? That he doesn't find out, that obviously you don't want this person in the picture as well, I'm assuming. You want him fully committed to you. Okay, so really you need to fully commit to yourself, right? Everyone's you pushed out. Are you familiar with the law of assumption? Or just conscious manifestation? The thing with a third party, right, is you've created it somehow from an insecurity in you, and that's what's projecting out because you've done something out of fear. And again, if you're looking for something out of fear that you're going to see something you don't want to see, you're going to see it. You're going to manifest it. If you're looking, same as if you like don't take action because you're worried that if you do take action and it's going to fuck something up or whatever, then that will also backfire. So what you want to do is definitely don't go looking again, would be my first bit of advice. I don't really make a lot of videos on third parties, and the reason is I don't want you guys focusing on the third party. I know that's not always easy, right? But I don't want to encourage focusing on that because if what you focus on continues to expand in your experience. So I would assign the meaning to that was like, he's obviously not even interested in her. He just maybe didn't want to, maybe he felt bad about like completely shutting her down. But he's not interested in her. He's not even going to message her anymore. And he's like, he and I are so happy that he's not even paying attention to anyone else. And then distract yourself. Don't keep affirming for it. Say enough to make you feel more calm about it. Do some box breathing if you need to help the anxiety go, and then do something that feels good that's unrelated to your relationship, to love, to her. Definitely don't go fucking stalking her unless you want to manifest making the situation worse. Do things that feel good. Go hang out with your friends. Go to do stuff by yourself. Because if you're feeling good, you're not automatically going to the negative things, and therefore you're not manifesting more of them. You've been consistently affirming, but it's hard to stop checking his phone. No, it isn't. Firstly, you're affirming that it's hard to stop checking his phone. But also what I want you to start doing is when you get the temptation, that twinge to do it, ask yourself, is it worth seeing something I don't want to see? Guarantee the answer is always going to be no, so don't do it. Because if you're looking out of fear that you're going to see something you don't want to see, you're going to see something you don't want to see. The paradox of that is when you're looking to see if your manifestation's here yet, you're not going to see it because you're looking out of fear that you're not going to see it. See how that works? And T, that's coming from a place of like not being very, like your self-concept's not great, right? That's like, I don't want to put you on blast, but and look, I've been there, okay? I've probably been the most insecure person, one of the most insecure people I've known in my life at one point. On so many levels, like body image, self-esteem, all the things. So I'm never having a go, right? But it's coming from a place of insecurity. Insecurity that was programmed somehow, probably by someone else. And that's not your fault. But it is your responsibility from this point on to change that. Nobody else can fix that for you. People can say all the nicest things in the world to you. Until you're ready to tell yourself those things, it's not going to matter. People used to say the nicest shit to me all the time growing up. Do you think that stopped me from doing stupid things to myself to try and be a body type that I naturally was not born as? Do you think that meant that I felt confident because people were giving me compliments? No, if anything, it probably, because I wasn't building myself up, it probably made me put a lot of value on shit that doesn't matter and made me think that Oh, like, sure, I can attract people, but then when they get to know that I'm not what they expect from looking at me, are they going to be disappointed? Blah, 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 which was my experience a lot, right? I'm not saying that's what you're doing, like your exact scenario, but it's coming from a place of insecurity. You wouldn't be worried about anyone ever fucking you over if you were like, if you knew how awesome you were, you'd be like, as if they'd fucking do that. Like, I'm the best thing that's ever fucking happened to them. They're lucky to have me and they know it. As if they'd fuck that up. You want to get to that point. Now, you're not going to be able to flick that on like a switch. Sorry to disappoint you. But if you don't already follow me and you're not already aware, I am. Someone asked about this earlier on the thing, so you can actually, can you see comments past when you joined? I promise I'm not lying. Someone who joined early was asking about the solid self concept course that I'm working on. So sign up for the waitlist via the link on my page. You'll get a 50% off discount code when it's released. So even if you're thinking now that you don't want to do that, at least give yourself the opportunity to get 50% off. There's no obligation to buy when it is released. That's work that you can do without a course, but you have the option when it's released if you want. How do you start manifesting? How do you start changing your mindset? Do I strongly believe in that manifesting is real? Yeah, I wouldn't. I fucking sure as shit wouldn't be charging people for coaching if I didn't think it was real. Look, I'm not saying there are people out there doing that, but I have a conscience. Yeah, I 100% believe it's real. I don't think, I mean, I think, look, not even I think, there's a lot of science out there, and I know there's coaches out there saying so this science proves that it's real. There isn't. We haven't done experiments to prove that manifestation is real. There's a lot of science, though, that shows that it's not only possible but probable that we um, are doing it all the time. And really, you're asking in the sense of like what seems like magic, right? But we know for a fact that in terms of neuroscience, for example, what you think of most consistently, your mind seeks proof of in your world. So even if that's as little as like the words of an article on a I always use a newspaper, even though like do people even buy newspapers anymore? I've never fucking read one. But like for example, you're telling yourself that I'm just gonna go to like job classifieds or whatever in the newspaper, even though that's something people did like fucking 20 years ago. Okay. So for example, you're telling yourself you're in your dream job, and an article in a newspaper that would have always been there, like had you been in like negative mode, lack mindset, why is it so hard? Why do other people get to do what I want to do, but I don't get to do it? Blah blah blah. If you're in that mindset, your eye is not gonna catch that article or a job in an newspaper is not going to catch your eye. But if you're thinking in line with like already having the job that you want, the dream job, and that job happens to be in a newspaper on a table, you're like looking around, and something about that catches your eye. Neuroscience, that's fact, that happens. So even if you're just thinking about it from that perspective, manifestation is real. But I think that there's definitely a quantum physics aspect to it. Um, and the reason why it comes down to like trust and faith and belief, even though you don't have to believe to manifest, you just have to not disbelieve. But the reason it comes down to trusting is because we don't know 100%. We don't have science that like completely shows how it happens in the sense of the things that seem like miracles. You know what I mean? The things that, because manifestation isn't logical. When you look back at the path that led to you getting the thing that you wanted all along, you can see the logical steps that were there. But in the moment that it's all becoming and like coming together, unfolding, often the things that you think could be part of it are not. And the things that you think are going against it are actually for it. Or there's other things happening outside of your direct line of vision that you would never have known. So, to answer your question about changing your mindset, you literally just tell yourself different things to the negative things that pop into your mind. And if you're so used to thinking lack mindset, which I was so a glass half empty person for so much of my life, okay? This is never me having a go at anyone. I teach this because it changed my life, because I used to be such a negative person. I used to call myself a realist, but I was a negative fucking person, and I honestly probably wasn't that nice to be around a lot of the time. And that's just a program, like a loop that your mind is on from your either your upbringing or your upbringing and or experiences you've had where you've been hurt before you understood that you were creating a lot of it, or that people's opinions were being kind of pushed on you when you were young and impressionable or whatever, and they were forming your beliefs for you, and then you were just living your life that way. And so all you do is think something different, but prepare yourself. If you're new to this, it's going to feel uncomfortable. You're going to feel stupid, like you are, and you have to push past that discomfort. Otherwise, nothing will change. So that's how it is. Next time an opposing thought pops into your mind about something that you want, I kind of say, if you're new to this, manifest in all areas. And what I mean by that is anything, not just things that are in line with your manifestation, but anything that pops into your mind that doesn't feel good or that pisses you off, brings up a feeling that isn't a positive feeling. Flip your thoughts about it, to create that habit, because eventually it becomes the reflex. And don't be scared of your opposing thoughts. They'll always happen to some degree. No one's ever going to be 100% on top of their thoughts, because it's part of our survival instincts. Our minds are still very primal. They haven't really evolved at the rate of technology and civilization. So they'll always happen to some degree. It's about not panicking and just being like, I know it's just my mind trying to keep me safe somehow, even though it doesn't seem it. And this is actually what my story is now, and doing that. And that's in terms of mindset, that's really all you need to do. And then you can kind of choose, in terms of what you are consciously manifesting, thoughts that are in line with that. You can have like what I call prompt affirmations, have like 4 or 5 affirmations max, not long complicated ones, just simple ones that you can use in the moment that, like, you see something, for example, in your physical world that's old story, unfavorable old story, and then you can go straight to these affirmations, prompt affirmations that you have to help change the story in your mind in that moment. Worst case scenario, just say the opposite to what's happening. Just interrupt the thought of the negative thought and don't let it spiral. So I hope that helps. Mandy, sorry, this isn't a reading. I'm not a psychic. I teach conscious manifestation. So I teach you how to stop putting the power outside of you and use the power that you're born with, which everyone has inherently, and create your own version of an awesome life. Really, if you're checking with like psychics and shit like that, what you're actually projecting out, because we're living projectors, is that you don't have the things you want. And that's what you'll keep experiencing. So if anyone's on here and they're new to conscious manifestation, particularly if you find readings triggering or you need them for validation or whatever, stop doing that, because that's probably like it's having the adverse effect to what you would like. And also they're just reading the current trajectory of energy, not the infinite possibilities that are out there. And when you are in a place where you aren't sort of strong enough up here yet, you haven't been doing the work up here yet, when you hear something from a psychic or a tarot card reader or whatever, or you do use divination tools or whatever yourself, when you see something or hear something, when you're not strong enough up here to go, no, that's not my story, it's easier for you to take that on board as fact, and then you create it because you've taken it on as a fact. So if it's something that you don't want to hear and you've heard it and you take it on as fact, like don't do it. Stop doing it to yourself. And I know I mentioned box breathing. You can Google that. It's just taking a breath in to the count of 4. So making sure you're counting. How it works is it works in a multitude of ways. It calms your nervous system. It's distracting your mind from the opposing thoughts because you're counting. And it's going to calm down your heart rate and your anxiety for the most part. Like for most of the time it works. It's used by like Marines and shit like that when they're in really stressful situations. So breathe into the count of 4, hold for the count of 4, exhale for the count of 4, and hold for the count of 4, and do that 4 times. So next time you want to check the phone, do some box breathing. Ask yourself, is it really worth seeing something that you don't want to see? And then go from there. All right, guys, I'm going to jump off. Everyone have an amazing day or night wherever you are. You're a fucking legend. Don't you ever forget it.